The moderator should not be able to act on his or her whims. And captiousness means raising of petty objections, being nitpicky, or also seeking to entrap somebody with an argument. Members should be able to sidetrack the conversation, especially when most of the members of the assembly don't want to be sidetracked. Both of these verbs seem to land on the I am as good as you, so get out of my way side of democracy. So having consistent rules and following them consistently is a precondition to the dignity of a deliberative assembly. I'm a big fan of Robert's Rules of Order, in case you haven't noticed. But I find that in recent years, liberal and radical folks have disparaged them. They stick out their tongues when they say Robert's Rules of Order. And that kind of makes me sad. It was Winston Churchill who said in the House of Commons once, no one pretends that democracy is perfect or all-wise. Indeed, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government. Except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. So democracy is the worst form of government, except for just about anything else. And so I've given myself this rather odd task of explaining why Robert's Rules of Order is a love manual. It is a practical implementation of democracy, and if democracy is the lesson of the Bible, and if the Bible is God, and if God is love, then therefore by transitive rule, Robert's Rules of Order is an expression of love. So let's say that Terry comes up with an idea and wants to bring it up to a meeting. Robert's Rules of Order gives us a way of approving it or disapproving it. But there are other things that we can do, and it's important to remember this when anyone meetings come up. Other things that we can do. We could, if fewer than a third of the members actually wanted to talk about this particular idea, we could object to its consideration. And that calls for an instant vote, and if it's voted to object for consideration, then it's just taken off the agenda. That clears the meeting for other matters which might be more important. But notice that objecting to consideration is something that silences those who don't agree with you. So there has to be a good reason for doing this. Either the time has to be short, or there has to be something else that you really want to talk about. And it takes a supermajority to actually do that. The idea was captious, then we should object to its consideration. We can do more. You can also say, we don't want to talk about it right now, by laying it on the table. And so, for example, if we have surplus one year, which would be wonderful, by the way, then we could have somebody make a motion for how to spend a quarter of the surplus. But there might be some other motion we know that's going to try to spend 80% of the surplus. We might take the 25% one, lay it on the table, consider the other one, and depending on how we vote on that, take from the table the other one, sequence, do that. So lots of different ways to do things. And then indeed you can also amend the proposal and things like that. But there are also other things in Robert's Rules which tend to get passed by, though we sort of have internalized them in some way. They are part of the you are as good as I theology. For example, members only address the chair or president of the assembly. There's no cross-talk, insults of another member, because an insult is the ground for censure. And when referring to other members, decorum requires you to refer to them by title, not by name. For example, the Assemblywoman from the 23rd District, or the Junior Senator from Illinois. And it's always Mr. Speaker or Madam Speaker, not Jimmy. That keeps the focus on the roles in the proceedings, not the personages. So if, for example, God was running the heavenly assembly, would God be called Mr. Madam Chairman, person, being, Mr. Chairman, being? Anyway, if you've ever been to a Unitarian Universalist General Assembly, and we have a little announcement about a webinar that's coming up on that. But if you've ever been to a Unitarian Universalist General Assembly, you'll remember that there are 3 microphones that are always set up. There's a pro microphone, there's a con microphone, and there's a privilege or process microphone in the middle. The moderator, who's currently a woman named Jean Corder, carefully alternates the discussion between pro and con. And if there's something that's a privileged motion, it interrupts the conversation. But it really does make General Assembly a sort of a love fest. It's actually fun to be part of one of those deliverables. And you have a head nod and announcement to GA reform. Indeed, a well-run meeting has a feeling of love, even if your cause doesn't prevail. As the hymn "Here We Have Gathered" says, may all who speak here feel they have been heard. Well, I'm running out of time, but I want to mention one more thing from Washington State. Now, there are some of you who regularly watch YouTube, and I encourage you to search for Representative Maureen Walsh's remarks, or, and this is the shorter title, ESSD 6239, which was the state's marriage equality bill, which passed recently in Washington State. It's fascinating to watch her speech and the other speeches that were recorded from the State House in Washington. It's a way of using the democratic process in society at large, which of course our principle urges us to affirm and promote. I have to admit, I was moved to tears by Maureen Walsh's words. Now, here in New Jersey, we also have legislative consideration of marriage equality, and that recently passed both of our houses of our legislature, and then was vetoed by our governor. Change comes through the use of the democratic process. Democracy can bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice. I see the understanding of the democratic process as a fundamental foundation of our religion. It's a theological foundation. We need to think about process, including how processes can be oppressive. And we need to work to end that oppression as well as oppression in the wider world. Let me end with a short covenant which is used by the board of directors of the First Unitarian Universalist Church in New Orleans. And I don't know where they got it or if they wrote it themselves. But they say this in unison at the beginning of their meetings. We so covenant that we are here to serve the needs of the church, to treat each other with mutual respect, to bring in many voices, and to speak out with one voice, to be fully present and prepared, to consciously create an environment of trust and openness,